Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Thursday, the 26th of July, 2012. I'm Tony Paniagua. You have probably walked by mesquite trees in southern Arizona and noticed the abundant amount of mesquite pods on the ground. Most modern-day desert dwellers don't pay much attention to them, but they used to be a staple food source for Native Americans. Now, a new set of Americans is learning about this ancient tradition. Luis Carrion has that story.
Tohono Chul Park is recognized by many as a treasure within the Tucson urban landscape. Since 1985, these botanical gardens have served as a showcase for the nature, art, and culture of the region. On this day, some of Tucson's newest residents are experiencing the park for the very first time.
In Somali, it's algarop. Often the wonderful entertainment that we have available in Tucson is out of our reach financially for the refugees that we want to welcome to Tucson. This type of tree is called mesquite. It's native to Arizona.
Barbara Eisworth is executive director of Iskashita Refugee Harvesting Network.
Iskashita Refugee Network, which means working cooperatively together in Maimai, not a written language, hard to spell, hard to say, but we believe in the people that we work with and empowering them with the tools and knowledge and skills that they brought with them. So we do that through harvesting programs. We do that through our sewing and crafts, which focus on sustainability. These are green. These are not ready yet. As they mature, just like a peach. So we're educating about refugees. Refugees are educating us about their food uses and food preservation techniques. We've got a couple fantastic cooks here that we do cooking workshops and cooking demonstrations.
Eisworth says many of these new residents have experienced hardship on the path to becoming American citizens. And adjusting to a new culture, a new language, and new food has not always been easy. But through Iskashita and the harvest of local foods, they are able to establish a bond with their new home and their new neighbors.
I am Abdullahi Omar. I came to Tucson as a refugee. I was first resettled in Des Moines, Iowa, and then I decided to move down here 7 years ago.
Abdullahi is originally from Somalia, and he's volunteered with Iskashita since his arrival to Tucson, a place that he says is surprisingly similar to his homeland.
So don't you remember these trees?
It kind of resembles the weather in Somalia. And I say not only that, but, most of the food, in the Southwest, it's, the way it's prepared, the way the food tastes, it's kind of the same too. So I say, we shared lots of stuff.
This is the flour made from this mesquite.
Sharing stuff is an important part of the work that is done by Iskashita. And harvesting and preparing food goes a long way in helping refugees find their sense of place.
My name is Faiza Halilian. I come from Iraq. I have 2 years and a half been in Tucson, in America. 2 years and a half.
Faiza has only been in Tucson 2.5 years. She's a dentist by trade and had a prosperous clinic in Iraq. She had to abandon her career when she came to this country, but she's been able to cultivate her passion for food and knitting through Iskashita.
Sewing and knitting and cooking is my favorite thing. I make it every day. I am dentist, but I like this work. I make very delicious dish of Iraqi dish, and I make more sewing, knitting, because when I become stressed, I work with knitting and sewing for 1 hour, and I become very good because it's good for me.
Faiza, like many of the refugees here today, comes from a place where resources are scarce. She's developed a particular reputation for her cuisine and her ability to incorporate items that she says are often overlooked by most Americans.
And America through to the garbage. Why? Many questions. Why? Everything I say to you, why?
There are many questions that these new residents have about life in their new environment. And participating in a harvest of mesquite pods is only one way of finding the answers that will help Tucson feel more like a home.
They are teaching us. We're happy to have opened this place for them.
Christine Conti is the executive director of Tohono Chul Park. She says many local residents may be familiar with everything this park has to offer. But by partnering with Iskashita and harvesting the mesquite pods, Tohono Chul hopes to deepen the connections between everyone in the community.
But what they're teaching us is that they're looking at the world with new eyes. They're showing us things that some people may not see. They may come to the Sonoran Desert region and they'll say, well, it doesn't have this. Or they think of a desert as something that's barren. And nothing could be further from the truth. But these people are coming with a spirit of hope and wonder. They've come from probably some difficult situations where they've learned to look at what is. And that teaches all of us a lot.
You can find out more about Iskashita and Tohono Chul Park by visiting our website at azpm.org.
In recent years, we have been hearing much more about the desire to consume GMO and gluten-free foods, and the movement seems to be gaining traction around the world. Next, Christopher Conover speaks with a local author and nutritionist about the GMO-free project of Tucson and related topics.
Joining us now in the studio is Melissa Diane Smith, the Director of Education for the GMO-free project of Tucson. She's also a holistic nutritionist and author. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
In case people haven't heard of the project, what is the GMO-free project of Tucson?
It's a nonprofit group that's dedicated to educating the public about genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. Those are organisms that don't occur in nature but are created in laboratories by inserting foreign genes into the DNA of a plant or an animal to create a new trait, such as having a plant make its own pesticide inside the plant. So it's really a very dramatic change in our food. These GMOs are hidden in our foods, and most of us are just completely unaware of that in America today.
Now, as I'm walking down the aisle at the grocery store, whatever my grocery store of choice is here in southern Arizona, how do I know? How do I avoid these if I want to avoid them?
Well, that's the problem, Christopher, is they aren't labeled here in the United States, unlike 50 other countries where they're clearly labeled and people can make a choice. In the United States, our government came up with a position to allow them on the market without labeling and without testing. So essentially when people learn this information, they realize that we're in an experiment, a feeding experiment that we didn't really sign up for. And many people, as they learn this, want to be able to have the choice to eat foods that don't contain these, because there are no real benefits to the consumer for genetically modified foods, but there are risks. We know from animal research, they have not been tested adequately in humans, but we know from animal research that there are serious health risks such as infertility, gastrointestinal problems, immune system problems, and organ damage. So we, the consumers, are starting to say, look, we don't want these in our foods, and that's why we're educating the public, and now we're starting to educate restaurants as well.
I was going to bring up restaurants. It's hard enough walking down the aisles of the grocery store, but I've seen things labeled GMO-free. I go into a restaurant. It's much more difficult, but the project has held 2 dinners so far, pure food dinners, and one more coming up. What are those?
Yes, those are they're non-GMO, so we've been through with the chefs and made sure that all the ingredients don't contain these untested genetically modified organisms. They're usually made with organic, local ingredients, grass-fed meats. And you're right, we had 2 very successful non-GMO pure food dinners just this past week. They were very well attended. And we have another one coming up, and we plan to have more. There's a real consumer demand as people learn this information and decide they don't want to eat these foods.
Now, as we mentioned in your intro, you're also an author, and 2 of the books you've written deal with gluten-free. Different area than GMO, but for a lot of people equally as important.
Yes, that's true. Gluten is a protein that's found in wheat, rye, barley, and oats, and it causes an autoimmune reaction in the gut in some people. That's called celiac disease, and in others, it doesn't cause that autoimmune reaction, but it does cause an immune reaction that causes symptoms, and that is called gluten sensitivity. So more people are learning that they feel better by not having gluten in their diets. They start to see symptoms go away and their health improve.
Obviously, these are two very big areas. I don't think we've even barely scratched the surface on it, but we'll put all of this on our website for our viewers if you want to go and learn more with links. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Southern Arizona is filled with a variety of cultural options, and tonight we are continuing our conversations with local individuals or organizations that are being recognized by the Tucson Pima Arts Council for their support or contribution to the arts. The University of Arizona's Poetry Center is the year's winner in the category of Arts Education Program. Joining us are the center's Executive Director, Gail Brown, and Renee Angle, the Program Coordinator for K-12 Education. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So, Gail, we were speaking prior to this interview about how you are in a brand new, beautiful building that opened in 2007. What would you like to say about the Poetry Center?
Well, the Poetry Center has been around for over 50 years. We were founded in 1960, and we've been in little houses around campus for all that time. But in 2007, we had the great fortune to move into this beautiful new building. It's one of 3 landmark buildings for poetry in the entire country. The others are in New York and Chicago. So in this space, in addition to having a place for our world-renowned collection of poetry, our library collection, we're able to do so much more with our education programs, our reading series, and so we're really fortunate to have that opportunity in this space.
And Renee, you are one of the people that is reaching out to the community. You work with K-12 children here locally. Tell us a little bit about those programs, please.
Sure. Well, one of the programs that's sort of the centerpiece to what we do with K-12 is our Family Days program. It's a Saturday once a month, which is an open house for youth and their families to come and just enjoy the day at the Poetry Center. It features all kinds of creative writing workshops, yoga classes, multilingual story times, book clubs, all kinds of games and other fun activities.
So I was reading the website, and of course there are multiple activities that are available to the public. So what do you think about being recognized as a so-called luminary in the community when it comes to the arts?
Well, we were really thrilled to be nominated. There are some amazing arts organizations who have great education programs, and so to be among that group was really pretty astounding to us. That we won, I don't know. We sort of punching each other actually at the table. We were kind of so thrilled. So it means a lot to be recognized in that way. We've been doing this work for a very long time. So when your community recognizes you, you really, you feel very special. But also, I really have to, thank the Tucson Pima Arts Council. They do such a great job advocating for the arts here and making people aware of all that we have in our community in support of arts and culture.
And Renee, why are the arts important to you, specifically poetry? I know you were a high school teacher at one point. Now you're working with kids still. Some people might say, let's teach them so-called tangible skills like carpentry or welding or something like that, and not the arts.
Right. Well, I think poetry has a lot to teach youth and really all people, but in education terms, we talk a lot about how poetry can teach critical thinking skills that are very important. They allow us to see the world in a different way and can kind of capitalize on our imaginations. And innovation is something that I think is really important to business leaders and the economy in general. And so those are some things that I think poetry contributes.
And Gail, you're using technology to allow more people around the world to see what's going on at the Poetry Center. Do you have a program called VOCA? What is that all about?
Right. We've been really fortunate. For many years, we've been recording the readings that take place at the center. And over the last few years, we've been able to digitize most of those recordings and then put them online through our website so that people from anywhere in the world can go and find a reading that happened last week or maybe 40 years ago and enjoy that from their own home. So it's been a wonderful resource and way for us to extend what we do at the center to a much wider audience.
Okay, and then Renee, why don't you tell us about the schedule for the family events that are held on Saturdays, please?
So Family Days, our first one is starting September 22nd, and that will feature, like I said, yoga, multilingual story times, creative writing workshops, and a new book club for 11 plus. And the first book is called Maximilian. It's a bilingual lucha libre thriller, and it will be a really fun event. So
that's again
come
September?
out on September 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Very good. Free and open to the public,
Free
right?
and open to the public, yeah.
And then finally, Gail, if somebody has never walked by and paid a visit at the Poetry Center, what would you say to him or her?
You know, it's a great place to visit. You know, whether or not you like poetry, it's a beautiful building. We do amazing work. There are exhibitions, there are art exhibits, book clubs. I mean, there are many, many ways to get involved in the life of the center. We welcome everyone.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and congratulations on the Lumie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Millions of Americans share their home with at least one curious cat, and the fascination with felines continues to grow across the country. Here in Tucson, you'll be able to see an amazing collection of different cat breeds at a show that is being held this weekend. Caitlin Harrington has the details in this interview.
Joining me in studio today is Carolyn Rennie and Sharon Shelton. They're both here on behalf of the International Cat Association's 2012 Southwest Regional Cat Show. Thank you both for joining me today, ladies. Carolyn, can you tell us or introduce us to your two little kittens here?
Be happy to. This Persian her name is Tahini. She's 5 months old, and she loves to play.
And Sharon, who is this one sitting in front of you?
This is Lily. She's a little 4-month-old American Shorthair.
And Sharon, can you talk to us, tell us some of the general information about the cat show coming up, which days it'll be held and where?
It is Friday the 27th, Saturday the 28th, and Sunday the 29th. It'll be held at the Doubletree Hilton, Tucson at Reed Park, which is 445 East South Alvernon. And the show on Friday will be from 4 to 10. The show on Saturday and Sunday is from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. There'll be 6 rings each day for a total of 18 judges.
Sharon, can you talk to us a little bit about what it means to be a regional show?
Regional show means we're going to have cats from all over the southwest region of the International Cat Association. That region encompasses California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada.
Carolyn, can you talk to us about how long have you been participating in the cat shows and what some of the standards are that they'll be judged off of?
I've been showing for about 4 years now, and each breed has a written standard of which the judge judges each cat against that written standard. And for Persians, they should be round. The head should be round, the body should be round. They should have that tiny little round tail. And they are substantial kittens, and they obviously have to have lots of coat. They have to have tiny little ears. And they need to stay out of water so they don't get wet. Come on, there you go. The American Shorthair was actually the barn cat that was brought over from England to kill mice on the ships, and they have they are the athletic cat because they're very good mousers. They're round also, but they're medium. There you go. That's it. And they should have medium-sized ears, medium everything. The body should be medium, the tail medium, the boning medium, and then they should have, come here, baby, the hallmark of this breed. Whoa, Tahini is, there you go, is this what they call the little matchbox muzzle right there, is that little padding there on the face. And she has a beautiful muzzle. Yes, you do.
And Carolyn, we talked prior to the interview about some of the preparations that the cats go through before the show.
Okay. Cats, like the American Shorthair, are very simple. She just gets a bath, and then we call it good. And the nails get trimmed, and that's truly about it. The Persian, however, is a much bigger production. We have to give her several different baths and different types of shampoo and volumizing shampoo. You want that coat big, and and then she gets blow dried, and then we do a little bit of trimming on them just to make it look like their eyes are a little bigger and that kind of thing, and you know, get stray hairs off, that kind. It's a big difference between grooming a Persian and grooming a short hair. And anyone interested in a Persian needs to know lots of work. They're wonderful and it's fun, but you need to do your homework if you want a Persian.
Sharon, in addition to the cat show, there's also going to be some vendors, some sales going on, and a celebrity guest. Is that right?
Yes, very definitely a celebrity guest. We have Matzi, is a Savannah. He is listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the 3rd tallest cat in the world. He stands almost 16 inches and weighs approximately 24 pounds, and he'll be there for the full shows where everybody can meet him and greet him.
And what kinds of things will be sold at the show, or what kind of vendors will also be there as well?
There'll be numerous vendors. You'll see cat trees, cat beds, cat blankets, stuff for showing, the shampoos, grooming supplies. There'll also be gifts, jewelry, various things like that, statues, just a lot of everything, T-shirts.
As someone who's participated in the cat shows for over 12 years now, we have about a minute left, but can you tell our audience what they might want to think about before getting in a cat show or owning a cat?
Getting into cat shows, it's fun. It's a lot of time and work involved. You have to keep the cats, you know, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. Of course, all cats are gorgeous and beautiful, but, you know, you're going up against the top of any region, any, you know, country. When you're looking at getting a cat, you're looking at an investment of, 15 to 20 years. And I think we lost her attention. There we go.
There you go. Good job.
15 to 20 years, you want to feed top quality foods. Most of us feed a degree of raw food to our cats. It's just there's a lot involved. Anytime you adopt any animal, you're looking at a multiple year commitment.
Ladies, I thank you so much for joining me today. And Lily and Tahini, thank you for joining us today as well.
Thank you.
Now we go to our weekly segment with Diane Klinko about some of the interesting and educational destinations or sites that can teach us more about our culture and our past. Klinko is the president of the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation, and he joins us each Thursday night.
Tucked into the Dragoon Mountains in Cochise County, between Tucson and Wilcox, is the remarkable Amerid Foundation, a museum of Native American archaeology, history, and culture. William Fulton founded the museum in 1937. In 1913, the 33-year-old factory manager from Connecticut was on a scouting expedition to locate a source of water for his father-in-law's Copper Chief mine near Jerome, when he chanced to discover a small travertine-encrusted prehistoric pot in a cave in the Mingus Mountains of north-central Arizona. Fulton had fallen in love with the Southwest and its archaeology when he made the discovery, and continued to amass a large and diverse collection of Indian art and artifacts. At the age of 50, he retired as chairman of the board of the Waterbury Farrell Foundry and Machine Company to devote full time to his true passion. Seasonal trips to the Southwest by the Fulton family brought them to the Triangle T Guest Ranch in Texas Canyon in the late 1920s. Fulton and his wife Rose soon purchased a home site on a hill half-mile east of the Guest Ranch and completed building their home in 1931, a seasonal residence for the next 40 years. The Fulton Spanish Colonial Revival-style home in Arizona was designed by Tucson architect Merritt Starkweather, who also designed Tucson's Arizona Inn. Over the years, the Fultons expanded their Texas Canyon property to encompass most of the canyon east of Interstate 10, 1,600 acres of former homestead and ranch land. William Fulton's collection soon outgrew his Texas Canyon home. So, with Merritt Starkweather, he developed plans for a small 3-room museum just down the hill from the residence. Starkweather assured that the museum would share a stylistic continuity with the rest of the property. Mr. Fulton began expanding his collections through excavations at several sites on the ranch property. In 1934, Mr. Fulton became a director of the Museum of American Indian in New York, the largest collection of Indian American art and archaeology in the world. And his friendship with the museum's founding director, George Gustave Hay, led to many productive exchanges of objects and collections between the museums over the years. The Hay Foundation collections eventually formed the basis of the collections of the Smithsonian's new National Museum of the American Indian on the Mall in Washington, D.C. Shortly after the Emerald Foundation was incorporated, Fulton hired the foundation's first professional archaeologist, Carr Tuthill. The two men began a series of excavations, including the prehistoric archaeological sites in southeastern Arizona, the Gleason site, a Hohokam Pit House village at the southeastern foot of the Dragoon Mountains, Winchester Cave in the Winchester Mountains, just north and a little west of the Emerald. While the Emerald Foundation was conducting pioneering excavations in southeastern Arizona, Fulton continued collecting artistic masterpieces created by contemporary Native Americans throughout the Western Hemisphere. Ceramic vessels were collected from the Hopi, Zuni, Ankoma, and the eastern Pueblos to complement a collection of thousands of prehistoric pottery containers. William Fulton died in November 1964. He bequeathed an endowment to the Emerald Foundation that has grown throughout the years to support continued research, publication, and education goals originally set out in the Foundation's 1937 charter. The Emerald Foundation remains a vital museum and research center. Its libraries, archives, and extensive collections of Native American material culture and Western art are an important destination for scholars interested in history, prehistory, and art history of the greater Southwest and Western Hemisphere. For more information on the Emerald Foundation, visit emerald.org or azpm.org.
Coming up tomorrow night on the Arizona Illustrated Political Roundtable with Jim Ninsel, topics will include money, money, and money. Arizona Secretary of State is pursuing a new legal challenge to the proposed continuation of a 1-cent sales tax. And the state's budget surplus, is it real or just a mirage? Also, the latest twists and turns in the races for the Pima County Board of Supervisors. I'm Tony Paniagua. From all of us at Arizona Public Media, have a great night.